You are the nicest person in the room, and you think that is your armor. It is not your armor. It is your price tag. Every predator in your social circle already knows exactly what you will tolerate, exactly what you will forgive, and exactly how far they can push before you do anything other than absorb the damage and smile. They did not figure this out through some elaborate calculation. You told them. You told them every single time you laughed off disrespect. Every time you showed up for someone who would not cross the street for you. Every time you said, "It's fine," when it was not fine, and everyone in the room knew it was not fine, including you. If this channel has ever made you stop mid-scroll and actually think, hit subscribe, not because I need the number, because the algorithm decides who sees this based on who engages with it. And if this is reaching you right now, it is because someone like you made that choice before you did. That is how this works. Now let us get into why kindness, deployed without strategy, is the most expensive habit you will ever maintain. There's a version of this conversation that you have heard before. It sounds like set boundaries and know your worth, and it is delivered by someone with soft lighting and a therapy vocabulary. That version will not be happening here. What is happening here is a field autopsy on how good people become instruments for people who are not good, and why the room always cooperates in making that happen. Let us start with something no one says. Kindness is not a personality trait. It is a behavior pattern. And behavior patterns are readable. The moment you walk into a room and default to agreeableness, to accommodation, to making everyone comfortable, you are broadcasting a signal. That signal does not say this person is strong. It says this person will absorb cost. The room reads that signal faster than you read the room. There is a concept in behavioral economics called revealed preference. It means that what you actually do tells the truth that your words try to hide. When you consistently put other people's comfort above your own, your revealed preference is clear. You have announced, without saying a word, that your time, your energy, your emotional bandwidth, all of it is available at a discount. And people shop at discount stores without guilt. Now here is where most people get confused. They think the problem is that bad people exist. That is not the problem. Bad people have always existed, and they always will. The problem is that your kindness removes the friction that would normally slow them down. You are not just a target. You are a frictionless environment. Think about the last person who took advantage of you. Not the stranger, the close one, the friend, the family member, the partner. Think about the first time they crossed a line. It was small, almost nothing, and you forgave it instantly, because that is what kind people do. You probably told yourself it was not worth the confrontation. You probably told yourself that making it a thing would be more painful than absorbing it. That was the audition, and you passed. What you experienced as generosity, they experienced as permission. That small overstep was not an accident. It was a probe. And your response, your silence, your smile, your willingness to move on, was the data they needed. From that point forward, every interaction was calibrated against that baseline. They knew the floor. Now they just needed to find the ceiling. This is not speculation. This is observable mechanics. Robert Greene calls it the testing of waters, the way certain people send out small violations early to map what they can get away with later. Con artists do it. Manipulators do it. But so do ordinary people who simply realize that you are cheaper to exploit than to respect. And that distinction matters, because most of the people draining you are not evil. They are just rational. If the cost of taking from you is zero, why would they stop? You have eliminated the consequence. You have made exploitation feel like cooperation. They are not losing sleep over it, because from their side you volunteered, every single time. Let me reframe something for you. You probably think of yourself as someone who gives too much. That framing is comfortable. It positions you as the hero of a tragedy, noble, selfless, just a little too generous for this cold world. That story protects your ego, but it hides the mechanism. The truth is not that you give too much. The truth is that you give without cost assignment. You treat your own energy, your own time, your own peace, as though it has no value in the exchange. And when you set the price at zero, you cannot be angry when people pay exactly that. This is the part that stings. You are not a victim of other people's cruelty. You are a participant in a system where your kindness functions as a subsidy. You are subsidizing the comfort of people who have never once asked what it costs you. Sit with that for a moment. Now let me take this somewhere darker, because the room dynamics are worse than you think. It is not just that individuals target the kindest person. The group does too. There is a well-documented social phenomenon where groups unconsciously assign roles, and one of the most common roles is the absorber. The absorber is the person who regulates the group's emotional climate by taking on costs that no one else wants to carry. They plan around your flexibility. They assume your forgiveness. They dump emotional weight on you and call it closeness. And the reason it never gets addressed is because the absorber role benefits everyone except the absorber. The group has no incentive to change the arrangement. You are the only one paying, and you are the only one who could renegotiate. But you will not, because renegotiation feels like conflict, and you have spent your entire life avoiding conflict. That avoidance is the lock on the cage. Here is the part that will make some of you uncomfortable. Conflict avoidance is not kindness. It looks like kindness. It feels like kindness. People praise you for it and call you the chill one or the easygoing one. But that label is not a compliment. It is a job description. It means you are the person who will never make things difficult, which means you are the person it is safest to be careless with. The people in your life who respect you least are often the ones who describe you most warmly. Think about that. Oh, he is the nicest guy. That sentence has never been followed by, and I would never cross him. It is followed by, he will not mind and he will get over it, and he always comes through. Those are not descriptions of a person who is valued. Those are descriptions of a resource. You are a resource that speaks. Now I need to address the counter-argument that some of you are already building in your head. You are thinking, but I do not want to become cold. I do not want to be the hard, calculating person. That is not who I am. Good. I am not telling you to become that. I am telling you that the opposite of being exploited is not being cruel. The opposite of being exploited is being expensive. Expensive people are not mean. They are just clear. They do not punish. They simply make the cost of mistreatment visible and real. They still give. They still care. But every act of generosity comes with an implicit understanding. This is a choice I am making, not a reflex you can trigger. The difference between a kind person who is devoured and a kind person who is respected is not the amount of kindness. It is the presence of consequence. Let me give you a practical image. Imagine two houses on the same street. Both have beautiful front yards. One has no fence, no gate, no lock. The other has a fence, a gate, and a lock, but the gate is often open. People walk through the first yard without thinking. They cut across it. They let their dogs run through it. They treat it as public space. The second yard they approach differently, not because the fence is hostile, but because the fence communicates. Someone is watching, and this space belongs to someone. Both yards are equally welcoming. Only one gets trampled. You are the yard with no fence, and the neighborhood knows it. Now let me escalate this, because the real damage is not the small daily erosions. The real damage is what happens to your internal architecture over years of operating this way. When you are the kindest person in every room for long enough, something breaks inside the calibration mechanism. You lose the ability to distinguish between people who genuinely care about you and people who merely find you useful. Those two categories start to blur. And once they blur, you begin to accept utility as affection. You start believing that being needed is the same as being loved. It is not. Being needed means they cannot afford to lose the function you provide. Being loved means they cannot afford to lose you. The distinction is the whole game, and you have been playing the wrong one. This is where the damage compounds. You attract a specific type of person, not because the universe is punishing you, because your pattern is visible. People who need a soft place to land, a person who will never call them out, a relationship where they can take more than they give. These people can smell your pattern from across a room, and they will pursue you with a warmth that feels like finally being seen. It is not recognition. It is recruitment. The most dangerous people in your life did not arrive looking dangerous. They arrived looking like they understood you better than everyone else. They mirrored your softness. They praised your patience. They made you feel like your kindness was rare and precious, because to them it was not as a virtue, as a resource they had just secured access to. And you let them in because it felt so good to be appreciated for the exact thing that everyone else takes for granted. This is the trap. The gratitude you feel towards someone who sees your kindness is often the leash they use to keep you performing it. Now, some of you watching this are already past the theoretical. You are living this right now. There is someone in your life, maybe more than one, who takes from you consistently and has trained you to believe that their needs are emergencies and your needs are optional. You know who they are. You have known for a while, and you have not moved because you have confused loyalty with obligation. Loyalty is mutual. Obligation is unilateral. If you are the only one sacrificing, that is not loyalty. That is a lease agreement where you pay and they occupy. So what does this actually look like when you start operating differently? It does not look like an explosion. It does not look like a dramatic confrontation or a scorched earth purge of your social circle. It looks quiet. It looks like the first time you say no without providing a reason. It looks like the first time someone expresses disappointment in you and you do not scramble to fix it. It looks like allowing someone to be uncomfortable with your decision without treating their discomfort as your responsibility. That is the moment. That is the fence going up. And I will tell you exactly what happens next, because this part is predictable. The people who were using your kindness as infrastructure will react with confusion first, then pressure, then accusation. They will call you selfish. They will say you have changed. They will remind you of everything they have done for you, a list that will be surprisingly short when you actually examine it. This reaction is not evidence that you are doing something wrong. It is evidence that the cost of accessing you just went up and they are attempting to negotiate it back down. Do not negotiate. The first negotiation sets the new floor. If you soften in that moment, you have just taught them that resistance is temporary and persistence will break you. That is worse than never having drawn the line at all. The people who stay after the fence goes up are the people who were never there for the open yard. Those are the ones worth keeping. The attrition is not loss, it is filtration. And what remains after the filter is the only thing that was ever real. Here is the final thing I will say about this, and then I am done. Kindness is not your flaw, but unpriced kindness is an open invitation written in a language every predator and every opportunist speaks fluently. The room will always take what is offered for free. That is not a moral failure of the room. That is physics. You are the only variable you control. Not whether people will try, whether it will work. The kindest person in the room does not have to become the hardest. They just have to become the most deliberate. And the distance between those two things is one word you have been afraid to say your entire life. No, the room will adjust. It always does. The only question is whether you will still be standing in it as a person, or as a function that forgot it had a name.